Hi children, welcome to the online classes. We were discussing lesson number 1, food and health. This is part 2 of lesson number 1. Children, in the previous session we have discussed about nutrients. So can you tell me what are the main type of nutrients? Yes, there are 5 main kind of nutrients: carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins and minerals. We have also discussed about balanced diet. So what is a balanced diet? Yes, a diet that provides right amount of all the nutrients as well as water and roughage is called as balanced diet. We have discussed about various food groups. Can you tell me why food has been divided into food groups? Yes, food has been divided into various food groups to make the selection of balanced diet easier. So that if you have food from each of the group every day, so it will make your diet a balanced diet. Now we will discuss about preserving nutrients in food, about diseases, about exercise, rest and good posture. Children, you can see the picture of different methods of preservation of food. How food can be preserved. Preservation by oil and vinegar. Oil and vinegar are called as preservatives, the substances which are added to the food which help the food to stay in a good condition for a long time are called as preservatives. And the method which is used for preservation of food is known as method of preservation, like storing in airtight containers. The airtight containers do not allow the moisture to enter the food, and that's why it avoids the food from getting spoiled. Cold treatment or heat treatment. Children, the microorganisms cannot survive at a very high or very low temperature. We know that microorganisms or germs are responsible for the spoilage of food, like molds, fungi, etc. They grow in the food. If we kept the food outside, then they start growing in the food and spoil the food. And having that spoiled food may cause things like stomachache, food poisoning, etc. Preservation by common salt, preservation by sugar. By adding common salt and sugar, food items can be preserved for a longer time. For example, in the picture you can see fish can be preserved by putting excess of salt, common salt. Sugar candies. Sugar candies can be made of various items, thereby preserving the items by coating them, preserving the food items by coating them with sugar. Now we are going to discuss in detail about preservation of food. What is preservative? A substance that is added to the food to prevent spoilage is called as a preservative. Oil, vinegar are called as preservative. These substances act as preservative. Now the methods of preservation. First is dehydration. Dehydration means removing water or drying. Now dehydration can be done in various ways. It can be done by keeping the food items in sunlight. For example, we make papad in this method, by removing water content from the food items. We keep the papads in sunlight. They are dried in sunlight. Next is sweetening. Sweetening means adding sugar. Sugar syrups, jam, etc. are made by sweetening. Salting means adding salt. For example, fish, even when we make the pickles, the salt is added in little more amount, which removes the water content from the salt from the pickle and thereby not allowing the microorganisms to grow easily. Next is canning. In the process of canning, the food items are heated, and that's why the microorganisms are dead. Because of heating, the microorganisms die. And then the cans are vacuum packed so that nothing can enter inside the cans. Things like fruits and baked beans can be preserved by the methods of canning. Pickling by adding vinegar or oil. Various things like we have the pickle of mango, we have the pickle of lemon. Pickles of various vegetables are made by this methods and they can be preserved for a long period of time. As you know, the pickles you made once in the home can be eaten for 2 or 3 years or even more than that if kept in a proper way. This is the picture showing canning. Various food items can be preserved by this method. This is how fish is preserved by salting. Dehydration, removing water content. Sugaring by adding sugar syrup. Louis Pasteur. This is a picture of Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur, French scientist, he invented a method of preserving food which has been named pasteurization after him. In this method, the food to be preserved is heated for a short time to a high temperature and cooled immediately. This process slows down the growth of germs in the food material. This method is used to preserve milk. Pasteur also created first vaccine for rabies and a disease called anthrax. Children, if you see the food packets, for example, the packet of milks, especially when you see the milk packet, you can read there pasteurized milk. Pasteurized means that milk is preserved or it is kept in a good condition by using the process of pasteurization. Means heating for a short time at a very high temperature and then cooling immediately. So this is called as pasteurization. Now we will discuss about disease. Children, when you say that I am having a disease, I am sick, what does it mean? It means that you are not in a good condition. The body feels weak. You do not feel like doing anything. So what is a disease? A disease is a particular abnormal condition that negatively affects the structure or function of all or a part of an organism, and that is not due to an immediate or external injury. There are different type of diseases. Some are caused by very tiny living things called germs. For example, right now we are having a pandemic that is caused due to what? Virus. The COVID is caused by a virus. So what is that virus? That is the germ, right, which has caused the disease. So that virus becomes the causal organism for that disease. Some other are caused by deficient diet. Deficient diet means which lack in a particular type of nutrient. The diet which may not have one or few nutrients in it, that is called as a deficient diet. Now, immunization. What is immunization? In this picture you can see, what is it? Yes, a small child is getting a vaccine. So, vaccines are what? People, especially children, are given vaccination. We see that children have their doses of vaccination. So, it prevents them from serious diseases. Vaccines are made of small quantities of dead or very weak germs of a particular disease or substances produced by these germs. They are swallowed or injected into the body. When they enter the body produces substances that can fight the germs, which are called as antibodies. Thus, the body becomes capable of fighting any future attack from germs of that disease. This is called as immunity against that particular disease. See, when somebody has been vaccinated, when somebody takes vaccine for a particular disease, what happens? The immune system of the person is triggered. immune system starts working against that particular organism. So that's why when in future when that organism again enters the body is ready to fight with that organism. That's why vaccination is also called as immunization. Now, diseases. Broadly, diseases can be divided into two types: infectious or communicable disease, non infectious or non communicable disease. Infectious diseases can transfer from one person to another, that are called as infectious or communicable diseases. For example, conjunctivitis, cough, cold, etc. can be easily transmitted from one person to another. Like COVID also, right? You know that COVID can be very easily transferred from one person to another. So these are what? Communicable diseases. Non-infectious or non-communicable diseases cannot be transmitted from one person to another. So the examples are deficiency diseases, allergy, obesity, diabetes. These diseases cannot be transmitted from one person to another. So these are called as non-infectious or non-communicable disease. Children, we are going to end this session here. I hope you enjoyed this session. Saira.